Then we are live. Because I hit the button.
Good.
The button has been hit. All those buttons.
Yep.
Buttons.
Yep. Show 10.
Show
9.
10. What do you mean 9?
Not show 9. Show 10.
It says show 10. Which
no,
one?
the description.
Oh, I didn't.
I'm doing it now.
You're working the description, not me. I got mine right.
They're gonna call it chat. I don't care.
Don't call it chat. It's not chat. Is it? It's not really chat in here. It's more comment. Well,
Get
it
chatted.
says live chat, but it's more like comments. That's just a you thing. Chat.
Just a me.
Yeah, that's just a you.
But just a Twitch.
Just a
holdover.
Twitch. Yeah, and that's a you
Gozerism,
thing.
as we'd say.
Gozerism. All right, ready to go live in 10?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Fine.
Let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, and we are here. Welcome.
We are live.
We are live. Welcome to the Not Your Average Show. It is what is it? The February 1st,
It
2021.
The first.
And welcome to Corey.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. We are fresh off of our attendance at the 24-hour Rolex race here in Daytona, and it was it was an event. It was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
We have some things to discuss. We have some results. We have some updated news on the results and a whole host of other things. Well, basically, we live streamed from the parking lot. That was one thing. That went over really, really well.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we couldn't live stream from any place else.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've been trying. You know, we're getting the handle of this. All the requirements for YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
for streaming online, the equipment. As you guys know, we talk about the equipment a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we missed somehow, that you need to have 1,000 subscribers to live stream from your phone, from your mobile only, right? Because obviously we're on the internet now, streaming.
Yep. And
anybody can do that from your phone or from your computer and a webcam.
Yep.
Great. Not for your phone, just so you know. We just didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it is.
So it would be. So when we got there and we were getting ready to live stream the actual start of the race, I whipped out my phone and I was like, let's do this.
Let's do it.
And I hit the little button and it was like, oh, your channel's not qualified to actually stream live from your mobile device. I was like, wait.
So there we are, ready for start finish.
Mm.
You know, ready for the start finish line, ready to start. And
Sure.
It's like, that happened.
That happened. That was a moment.
This is not happening.
So it didn't happen. But now what's so funny though is, ironically, when I knew we were going to live stream actually starting the whole thing, we had the MacBook Pro. So let's set up what happens. We drive into the parking lot in front of the entrance to turn number 1. And we're like, oh yeah, get out of the Tesla because we're in Corey's car. And we're like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. And Corey's like, we have to wait for the crowd to kind of move a little bit before we set up. I'm like, nope. I start breaking out tables, chairs.
If you guys have been to like an amusement park where when you're parking, they direct you where to park because they want you to file all these lines, right? So they direct you, go over there, they park, and then you got a guy like standing there, park here, and then 2 cars park here, and then he moves over to 2 cars park here, and it's one of those.
Sure.
So we pull through the lane. I pull through the lane and I stop, and then that's what I said, because literally there's a car parking next to me, a car parking behind me. I pop the trunk, and Mike's like, shoom, out the door, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm literally the guy next to me's got the door open, so.
There you go. So he's like, I'm going to sit here for a minute. And I'm out breaking out tables, chairs, and all the equipment. And it was kind of funny. But so we got that done. And ironically, you know what we didn't do? I didn't take a picture of the setup in front of the Tesla because it's pretty funny. Did you take a picture of it? Okay. Nobody took a picture of it. So just for scale, just so people understand where we kind of got everything set up here. On the actual track map, right?
Yeah, you gotta pull it up.
I am gonna pull it up
nice.
here because it's
we got some stuff for you guys. So
we have a lot of stuff for you because in all honesty, it's just the way this whole thing panned out. We were, if you can see where my cursor is, we actually pulled in and we parked right down here by this S, by the number 1 in lot 1, and we literally live streamed from the position where that golf cart is. That's where we did the first live stream. Now, the other thing is, you got to remember, Daytona is 2.5 miles all the way around. We covered every inch of the infield, with the exception of
the part in the far left where the orange is.
The far left we couldn't get down to because it was closed, because only the camping sections were open, not the tent camping areas. But otherwise, every other section except for the fan zone.
Well,
because they wouldn't let us in.
There's a whole story there.
Yeah,
Mike got into the fan zone. I did not. He'll go through all that. He'll go through it.
So,
and you know what's funny about that?
Yeah.
I guess I can say it now.
Go ahead.
I was talking to the wife when I got home after and was telling her about it, right? Mm-hmm. You know what she told me?
What?
She's like, I know it was late when you guys were trying to get in to the fan zone, because I told her about the clear bag thing.
Right.
She's like, why didn't just one of you go in and the other guy keep the bags out?
And?
I just did that. I just deep breath, just
pearls of wisdom.
I mean, I don't know.
We didn't.
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you why.
I don't know.
We didn't, and I know why we didn't, because it was more like
we both wanted to shoot it, though.
We both wanted to shoot it. We had the 2 cameras, and we wanted to get all the stuff that we wanted. And I knew that if we didn't have 2 cameras, it was going to be kind of a deal where we were going to miss out on some information. And we just decided, you know what? There was an opportunity to come back tomorrow, and maybe we'd get that done. However,
true.
I ended up going back the next day for something completely unrelated. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I think the next thing we want to talk about really quickly here is the results, because after attending 24 hours of racing, in which in relationship to what it was from last year's COVID event, from last year's event with the COVID implications from this year, it still felt like a Rolex. I mean, it was still...
Yeah.
Well, we got video to show you that it was still very well populated. There were still very many people hanging out trackside against all the fences. Every area that you could imagine, including, proper social distancing, people were there, and it didn't seem it didn't seem vacant. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned before, Mike and I, we've been to the race multiple times over the years, many times, honestly. And I made the comment because we got in, as we mentioned, when we live streamed for you guys, that was hours before the race actually started. And that's another thing too, actually, we were talking about too.
Yeah.
Was that the race started this year at 3:45 local time, PM.
Right.
And I know in the past I've been there and it's been earlier. And so it's a bit later. But point being, we got into the start, or we got into the racetrack, and we're looking around, and we got a lot of pictures from stuff to show you guys. But we were in there, and I made the comment. I was like, Mike, I think there's literally like at least a third less people here now at the time, and there was. So while he's going through some pictures and showing you stuff, you can see there were people there for sure.
For sure,
it was still. Honestly, we both kind of made the comment later that we thought there's probably overall still more people here than we kind of figured there would be.
Way more. Way more.
So it was still quite popular, and that's good. As far as racing goes, right? I like to see that people are still interested to come out and see these things, even when it's quite obvious that there's less manufacturer presence, less booths, less things going on in the infield.
For sure,
there's less cars in the corrals, and if you don't know what I mean, when let's just say if you go to a race like this and you have the opportunity to drive your own, let's say, sports car there might be other people there with the same kind of sports car, and you guys all park in the same place. It's called a corral, like the Porsche corral, right? Corvette corral.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, again, notably a lot less of those as well.
Sure.
There were certainly less things happening. But
keep talking. You can go ahead and narrate over this one, because...
Yeah, sure. I mean, let me bring up the feed so I can see what you guys are talking about.
So basically, the one where we took... This is just over the back side of one of the grandstands. This is the main thoroughfare that basically caters everyone to the infield. And the campers were all there.
Yeah.
And just as a relative point of just reference, this is usually packed with cars every year. When you walk into the
in the foreground right there, where you see the car moving on the left, that's the Porsche corral.
Yep, little less occupied.
It would be, I think, a whole lot more full than you see it there.
Yeah. But now to say, I would say again, there's probably a.
This is all raw footage, by the way.
Yeah, this is all raw. We're just doing this raw.
Nothing has been edited at all.
Yeah, so we will do our edits.
Some stuff.
So the difference is that there's plenty. I mean, absolutely plenty of people there, and it didn't feel, I would say, empty. It just didn't feel empty.
It didn't feel empty. No,
it felt like a Rolex. It just felt like a slightly less amount of people Rolex.
Yeah, in a way. Obviously, with COVID still being a thing, and we all having to wear a mask and trying to be as safe as possible, of course, That's something going on. But in a way, I kind of liked it being a little less crowded.
Yeah, that was also true. Yeah.
People-wise, walking around, because you had a little bit better mobility. I'm not talking trams, because that's a whole other thing. There's always a line to get on and off the trams. But again, moving around inside the field, doing stuff like that. Right here, there's still people. We still gotta pause and
sure,
navigate around the people in the campsites, but a bit less. And like I said, I think I kind of liked it a bit more like this. Obviously, great if COVID wasn't a thing, but it was nice. It was good. It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So there was still plenty of people, and normally where there's people lining the fences, they were accurate. They were spaced, like I said, and all the camping, all the sights, the sounds, the smells, those were all consistent with a Rolex.
Yeah.
So that I can't be any more happy with the fact that was the way it was.
Yeah, the enthusiasm from all the people that are there that they camp and set up, still very much alive, and that's great.
So, and if the people that were in attendance, they got treated to a show, because if you watched the race at home, or if you were lucky enough to be one of the attendees, there was quite some amazing racing going on. And actually, one of the first things I guess we could talk about is the first 2 hours probably featured more cautions than we have seen in many years past.
It was quite a bit. You want to talk about the thing right before start finish, like right before actually the green?
Which one? The Mazda?
Yeah, right before actually the green flag fell, like before the race.
Yes, the Mazda
Turn 4. Whoop.
Oh no, wait, you talk about that one. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was just sitting up at the stands again. We're trying to get the live stream going and everything, but we've had to start your engines. We've had all the warm up laps going, and we're looking down there, turn 4, and we can tell the pace cars come off of the track.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna go green, and I'm looking over there, and I see turn 4.
The WeatherTech Porsche.
Somebody loses it. I don't actually know.
See, it's funny because you were looking down track, right? You were looking down into turn 4. I was looking at the Mazda, the 55 Mazda that was still sitting in its paddock area and hadn't gotten started yet.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay, so what's going on with the Mazda? And then the next thing I know is then you point at me because you can't hear what the car's going on,
so loud,
and I see the smoke coming out of 4. I'm like, what happened? And there's cars going everywhere.
Hasn't even been green yet, technically.
Yeah, so that was one of the other interesting parts. That was neat. So we're sitting there now. Imagine this: just before the start of the race, we're sitting in the grandstands. I'm about trying to go live. That's not happening, and we're also both have cameras in our hands. And Corey's taking some excellent footage, and then
trying to stuff our face with food
at the same time
because we had literally just got there.
Yep.
Trying to get the timing all right, and we had a nice place to set up there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other thing. I guess you can talk about the guy that ran us off from your time exposure.
Well, that was different. But ironically, I've got my camera rolling, the ZV-1. He's got my other GH5 rolling. We both missed the start in different ways. And I'm going to tell you how this happened. I got the start, except that it was grainy because I put the camera in a mode from the infield to when we got into the grandstands. Yeah. We were in a shaded area, so it came out grainy. And then Corey...
I think I was plugging in the batteries to charge because we had 2 dead batteries for the ZV, and I was plugging that in behind me because basically what we sat at the top of a section on the lower side of the bleacher or the lower side of the grandstands.
For sure.
And just behind us is where those boxes are, where you can reserve a box, but they're all shut. Those all shut, and they're not open. So we were able to put stuff right behind us, and they weren't in trouble of being kicked or anything because there's nobody there. So I was literally turning around, plugging batteries, trying to get the batteries to work. And, I know how it goes. The national anthem, there's some announcements, there's start your engines. I know how it goes. Yeah. Holy crap, they moved quickly there for that like 4 minutes.
They did.
And I literally was picking up the camera and turning around, and they're like, and there was start your engines. Like, well, shit, I missed start your engines. I mean, yeah.
They did a split field start, which was slightly unanticipated, so that was interesting. Yeah. And I'm just trying to see if I can queue up the other footage of this one, which actually would be the previous one. So I'm just trying to give you a good shot. Yep. It wasn't horrible footage that I took. That's the other problem. It wasn't terrible. Okay, it just wasn't up to the quality that I really wanted for the start of the Rolex 24, especially considering what we were doing. And then we realized when we went through some of the other footage that it wasn't exactly up to snuff on the quality that we had for other parts of the shoot. Now, this is supposed to be 4K, and I understand it's a little pixelated because of one of the settings changes. But this is the actual start.
Yep.
This is where we're standing. There you see the Cadillacs go by, and
well, that's turn 1.
That's turn 1. It was a great start. It was
Usually
clean.
It's pretty crazy down there.
Yeah. Now at the same time, I think they were still rectifying what was going on with the WeatherTech Porsche.
Yeah.
Right.
You can see the next line.
So this is the next one.
4, 3, 4. Yeah.
Oh no! Actually, I did catch it. I did get it. Look at that.
Right there. I can't.
That is it. That's the spin. There's the smoke. I was wrong. There it is.
Yeah, it was just mayhem.
It was mayhem, and then that piece got left on the track a little while later, and then you can see one of the winning Corvettes cruise on by. So actually, that was interesting. Again, the quality wasn't where I really wanted it to be. You know what I did do? I did that whole part without the boom audio back on. So you didn't get the sight and sounds of it. You just got the negative audio effect.
Well, you know.
Which we have plenty of that too. So we had
probably as crowded. Looking at the video there, it's probably as crowded as it was anywhere.
Yeah.
The start finish where we were.
Oh, the grandstands were.
As many people in one place as we had anywhere.
For sure. The grandstands were equally crowded this year, and I don't think that there was anything different about. And you could see that there was crowds, that they were spread out pretty sparsely all the way up to the upper decks. It didn't seem like they closed off any areas differently from this year as compared to years past. So everything was accessible in that respect.
Yeah.
And again, these were some of the challenges. Now and this is something that we have to talk about. We have gone to the Rolex so many times, but we never decided to cover it as an actual event.
Yeah, that was, any time I went to the Rolex, I did, without getting this, I did work a few, and that was great fun. So you're preoccupied doing other things, obviously. But yeah, we made the comment hours in, probably after nightfall, that we sat down and we're actually kind of waiting for a shot to kind of come together.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is kind of the first time I've actually watched the race.
Yeah.
I've been working the camera and trying to make sure the audio was working with the attachment we had on top and managing batteries. It just was. I mean, I like going for the race.
Yeah, sure, but we didn't really get a chance
going to the race to share it with you guys. So it's certainly a different kind of thing. But it's just something, haven't been so involved and so passionate about just racing and road racing. I didn't quite watch as much as I had hoped. Honest.
True, and it's really interesting. So I'm gonna replay this footage here just for a minute, so you guys can get a really good scope of what it's like when you're sitting up in the grandstands, because it is a lot bigger of a layout than you think of. But when they redid Daytona a few years ago and redid all the grandstands, they made them much higher, much steeper, and they gave people views across the track that you have to go to this event to actually understand. Even in the last few years, they've upgraded the lighting, the infield lighting. They have done so much to make this track more enjoyable for the people coming to watch the actual race, that when you're in the position that we were in for the grandstands, you can see every inch of the track except for the very, very minute section of the backstretch.
Yep.
So for the rest of the race, you can actually get a great view of what's going on, and you can really track the cars and understand the entire layout. Now,
it's one of my favorite spots in the place to sit.
Yeah,
if you're just gonna sit and chill for a while, and it's not really cold, because sometimes
it gets really cold.
January, February, when we go to the race, when the race is held.
Yeah,
Daytona. I know it's Florida. I get it.
It still gets cold.
I understand YouTube, but cold. Let's say it's. I mean, literally, I've been in this seat up here, and it's 40 something, 42. Sometimes raining.
Fingers are freezing off.
You're up pretty high, so it's got a bit of wind chill going on, and it's your wind chill's in the 30s sometimes. It's cold.
Yep.
So sometimes it's not a great spot, but this is one of my favorite spots.
So one of the other things that it can be as well is not just cold, because pretty much once the green flag drops, there is no more conversation unless you're yelling at your next door neighbor. And when I mean yelling, there is no section of track, infield or out, that is quiet. At that point, you're at the mercy of literally the audio gods, because it gets so loud, and I do mean so loud, that I decided to whip out my watch for a second and just take a quick video so I could show you it peaking at 109 decibels where I was, and there wasn't even a car most of the time passing by, and we're still at 90 decibels for a good deal of this section.
Something to note about that, just again, having been there in the past many, many times. Where he's standing right there with this picture, we'll maybe see if it moves his hand out of the way.
Yeah, well, which one?
You'll see.
Okay,
well, maybe not.
How close I was?
Yeah, exactly. The fact that down below you, there is a lack of anything, right? There's a space there, right there in that shot. There's a space there you can't go into anymore, and that didn't always used to be that way.
Yes.
So you used to literally be able to get up
stand on
on the fence, basically not on the fence, right, but right next to it. And
we used to stand. That
was an experience.
Yeah, we used to stand right there up against those cables, and nobody'd be like, "Hey, no big deal." It would be like, So, but you still get close enough. Let me tell you, when those cars go flashing underneath you at speed, this is right underneath the start finish. There's the checkered flag area.
107 decibels.
So, yeah, the starter stand is right above us and where we were standing, and it's loud. I mean, we have earplugs in the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
It's super freaking loud.
Oh, yeah.
And the strangest part is it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't make a difference where you go in the track at that point. You can expect 90 decibels everywhere on the infield. When you're on the main road, I think the minimum you're going to see is about 79 decibels. So earplugs are a must at the Rolex.
Yeah, if you're going to come to any race, just bring your earplugs. I mean, don't be that guy that's like,
well, you can be.
You meet some people.
You can be.
That, they're just, I don't need earplugs. And then like, man, just bring them.
Bring your earplugs.
It's not worth it. You're gonna experience it with the earplugs in. Just do it.
True. So another thing that's probably surprising to a lot of people if you've never actually attended a race before, and that would be the size and scope of actual racing all throughout the track. And this is just to give you an idea of when you're actually on one of the infield grandstands and you're looking backwards, where the cars actually have just gone back onto the road course, entering into the middle of turn 2. This is really interesting because it's basically like watching a car run on a wall. It is
the amount of camber.
Yeah, the amount of that is in this section of the track. It is just literally car wall, and that's where the maximum banking is. And the other thing that gives light to is the fact that when you NASCAR as well. Another thing that gives a lot of you have to be there is that even when you're on the infield section, it doesn't make a difference which grandstand you're at, except for the one that is probably deeper towards the fan zone. You are surrounded by racing. You could literally see 3 other sections of track just by turning around and looking off the grandstand.
And that's part of what makes it so immersive. I mean, obviously, it makes sense, right? If you're in the track and the cars are all around you, it's immersive. But
for sure,
the fact that it's a 24-hour race, and you can and I've slept here multiple times through various setups, whether working or just attending the race as a fan. And when you can go to sleep and you can hear the cars outside because it's loud, right? Still, and then you wake up and it's still racing, and it's like, wow, it's the same race,
same
still
place
going on. And we said before, it's really an interesting race in the sense that it's an endurance race for not just the drivers but the cars too. Just getting a whole team and a machine to finish
to do that.
This is why some teams bring multiple cars for various reasons, but yeah, it's a tough thing.
Now, and again, this speaks to the fact that now this is coming back into the where they go into the next. I guess is that what do they call that? Yeah, going before they go back out into the infield. The next infield elbow. Yeah, after the kink.
Yep.
So again, from that bleacher perspective, you can actually see very, very well the cars going back up onto the banking coming out of the infield. So that's another thing. And what we were really trying to do at this point is get the brake lights. Get the glowing rotors. So another thing that we said to ourselves is first time we have all the cameras and everything else, all the equipment, we're like, we got to get glowing rotors, which turned out that we did.
Yeah, I got some. Did you get any with the ZV?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, you got them.
Yeah, I got some with video. It sounded like NVIDIA, but it's I got some video of glowing brake rotors. Yes. And I was trying to play with some faster shutter speeds in the dark, but also multiple, just snaps or camera shots to just get them close. But need a bit more zoom with where we could get set up. I need a bit more zoom. So something we know we'll get next time.
Yep. And I guess after the last thing we can, I'm going to queue up some other footage here, is just to be like the overall experience. And this is just, I'm going to let this roll in the background for a little bit, because when you're actually getting on the trams to leave, because we walked, and when I say we walked a great deal.
Yeah, it was 11 miles and change.
I think by the time I finished, it was almost 11.5 miles on my watch. And when I say again that the experience for most people, even in spite of COVID, okay, it was still a full event. There was constant activity all over the track.
I like the dichotomy there. We got a Jag on the left.
Yeah.
And then a minivan, some people with the fire.
Oh, I cut away because well, I saw the
and the Porsche crowd.
The Porsche crowd.
But anyway, there was a fire there, and then just next to the fire, and this minivan is a Lambo.
Yeah, and so when you're in the infield section, it's really cool because every campsite you never know what you're gonna see. That is an actual car that you would be like, okay, drool, and here it is parked on dirt next to a fire, literally
like a fire pit,
like a fire pit. So you see all these different cars, but then if we round the corner, again, just giving you an idea, I know this isn't the most stable footage because we took some footage just to show. We took a ton of footage to make the actual video that we're going to produce for the channel, and then we've got more footage just for about a 3-minute cinematographic look at the entire event. So that's something else that, again, if you ever get the opportunity, it's one of the most fascinating races to see cars race in the daylight and at nighttime.
Really cool. Yeah, it's really great.
And this just captures some of the look and feel because when you're on that main road, like I said, there's camping everywhere. So there's bunches of people, and here you go. There's another Porsche just tucked away. I think it's GT3. I think the Lambo's coming up next, or there's
that wasn't a 500.
Was it?
No, it wasn't a 500.
It wasn't, okay. No, it wasn't a 350. And there's massive motorhomes, but again, you can just hear. I've turned down the volume a little bit just for our sanity. But if I turned it up all the way, that was a CTSV, and I think then the next one we see like there's like Raptors or something in the corner.
Yeah, there's a Raptor. There's earlier, not where we are now. Well, kind of where we are now actually, but not this time of night. They'd left already. But there was a Viper GTS.
Oh yeah, the Viper
GTS. GTS, blue one. And then that was next to a.
Oh, there's the there was
AMG something.
Could have been. I think that there was an Aventador.
I mean, it's a race, right? You get people from everywhere, and you get people from all walks of life, and you get people with tons of cash, and people normal people. Or I guess everybody's normal, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
People with sports cars and people without sports cars.
And then there's supercars just sitting.
And supercars, yeah.
Just sitting there, at their campsite, no big deal. And this is not random. Like this is every 4th or 5th campsite, depending on where you go. There are cars like this all over the place.
It's just part of it.
It's just part of it. So the experience. This is the fanfare, the festival of, I guess, the Rolex. Yeah. This is exactly what it's like every year. And for that part, again, I'll say it again, even with COVID, still felt like a great Rolex. So, and then there's my favorite part, of course, when you leave, and we finally didn't have to walk through the tunnel again. We went through the tunnel way too many times.
The only time we rode through it was this time.
Yeah, no.
Everyone else were walking.
No, the first time we rode through.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to go in, yeah.
And then we walked through 4 times.
Yeah.
Right? So we did some walking. So there's that.
It was good.
And then we got back out towards the camping.
Speaking of that, do you want? Well, I'll just say it. I just thought.
Go ahead.
When we rode in
in
the beginning, then we were inside and we were shooting stuff, and then we forgot we wanted to go back up to the car again.
Oh yeah.
We were like looking at the line to go back out in the tram, and we're like, oh man, it's gonna be so long. And then we asked guest services, can we just walk? I know one because I already read one of the tunnels was closed.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, there's really no way to walk.
No, we.
And so we asked guest services, can we walk? Is it really? I know some stuff is less. I know closed, like the other tunnels closed. 4 tunnels closed. She's like, no, you can't walk. You got to ride the tram.
Well, we found that out to be a lie.
Yeah, no.
Because then we did end up
walking. Because after that, like we said, we walked through 4 more times on foot. But anyway, walking shoes again. There's another bring your walking shoes.
Good walking shoes.
Walking shoes, earplugs, all that. And that's the funny part too. Just as a random, like talking about how it affects you, is if you pack appropriate shoes and socks and all that, and then you just pace yourself for walking, which is a lot to see. My feet and my legs didn't hurt at all.
My
backpack.
Okay.
My shoulders. I didn't have that set right, and that was totally on me, obviously.
Right. So we both had backpacks.
But, yeah.
We both had camera bags. And we both had cameras out 24/7. I think all in total, about out of the time that we were there, I have amassed almost 3.5 hours of footage that we took, which just goes to show you how much work we actually did do. Ironically, we but I had to go back on Sunday because I said to Corey, I looked at him, I said, man, I took some really good footage, but then a couple of pieces fell apart, and I'm really not happy with it, so I'm going back. And he's like, oh, crap, really? And I was like, yes.
I couldn't make it the second day.
He couldn't make it the second day, but it was just one of those things where I just decided it was really in the best interest. And then there was a second problem on the second day. On Sunday, it was the wind.
It did look windy.
It was so windy. So if you actually watched it at home, when the Rolex sign blew over in one of the corners, I was actually standing in the corner when that actually happened. And I do have some footage of that, but I'll show you guys. That'll be for one of the edits. But one of the other things we were really trying to capture is what it's like when there's a transition from day to night at the Rolex. Oh. And so they'll have to edit this a little bit. And this is a super time lapse of about 40 minutes. Of the entire facility where we were sitting. And I know it's not balanced yet because that's something I can always do in post, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. However, just to give you an idea of the comings and goings on a daily, of the Rolex and what it's like to make that transition from day to night, this is it just slowly turning to night from what our perspective was.
Yeah, sunset was at 6:01.
Yeah.
So we started this, 20 minutes before?
I think it was 20 minutes before sunset, and it ran 20 minutes after. Now, there's going to be a blip at the back end, which is okay. The camera comes back on the off the gimbal and recenters down towards the back. But when we finally edit this all together, this is going to be part of a much bigger piece of one of the videos. And this was actually during 2 of the yellows. There was 2 yellows during this time, 2 cautions. And so that was kind of interesting. And it just slowly gets darker, but when it actually reaches that point where it goes dark, 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 it's amazing. It's amazing to see how this place transitions from daylight racing to nighttime racing. So more to come on that. So just wanted to share that with you guys. And again, this is all just part of the experience. And that's when it did that weird thing, which was so strange. So
I know as a driver, when the sun comes back up, there's some places on the track, since it's obviously where it rises.
Yeah.
There's some turns and some straightaways on the track where as the sun comes up, and you may have been, again, you've been driving in the nighttime, fatigue maybe setting in, depending on how long your stint's been, how long you've been in the car. Sun comes up and it's like right in your face.
In the face.
And suddenly it's like, well, you got to be awake because
here comes.
Obviously you're still going really fast, and sun's in your face. The track's gonna start warming up. I mean, yeah. So it's just on the track it's cool, and off the track.
Now I guess we have to talk about one other thing: the results. I'm going to take
the results. Yeah. Actually, the official results. Yeah.
The official.
Have at it.
So here we go. If you woke up this morning and your name was Taylor, you're probably quite excited for the fact that you had an excellent showing at the Rolex 24, whether or not you were in a Corvette or in a new Acura. So as Wayne Taylor took his racing team to the number 10 this year in the Konica Minolta Acura, it just seemed like they didn't really have a chance at the onset of the beginning of the race, but towards the end, with just the last pit stop section to go, in the last 35 minutes, their challengers dropped to 0 due to tire issues on, I believe it was the number 10 Cadillac.
Yeah. Or 55?
The 55 was the Mazda, and then the 10 Cadillac, I think he had a tire explode, and then at that point, it was the 01 Cadillac. That's who it was, the 01 Cadillac, right? So
yes. Yeah.
It was great battles on the track all over the place, but ultimately in class, it was number 1 went to Acura, and that broke, I think, a chain of almost 4 years for Cadillac, finishing the top spot. So Ricky Taylor and Wayne Taylor and their racing team, when it came to that level of pit stops, they only took 2 tires, and I think it was left side rubber, and that changed all the difference for them finishing in the race. So good luck to them, and congratulations. Now, the actual official results, we do have the link below.
Yep.
And we can talk about these really quickly. So
posted.
They are posted down below. So we had Ricky Taylor in the Konica Minolta Acura and family. And then if you want to go back down and look at the Corvette,
GTLM.
There's Jordan Taylor.
Jordan down there, yep.
So they took GTLM. And then no real surprises there except for Acura being in the top. So what'd you think? We had a discussion about this when the race started, and we looked at the Cadillacs, and we're like, is Acura going to show up? Like, at all?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Cadillac's just been doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
And, as with anything goes, if it was already, if they were having a good showing in the past, doesn't mean anything as far as the next race. But they had been doing so well, it just seemed like it might be another decent Cadillac showing, and it wasn't bad. I mean, they're not at the bottom, although all things considered, DPI is not a huge class.
No.
But yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, they did do pretty well throughout most of the race.
Sure,
Cadillac,
but Cadillac was, and they were the fastest car though, because Acura, their best lap time was 135.253, whereas Cadillac had a 134.9. But when it mattered towards the end of the race, it just seemed like they couldn't catch the Acura.
So Rossi had a 135.2.
Mm-hmm. Technically, the fastest car on the track was Ganassi.
Ganassi was a
134.6 was Chip Ganassi Racing, and that was in the other DPI Cadillac, which I honestly thought that they were going to be the flat out winners, but it didn't happen. Again, they had their tire issues towards the end, and I was actually at that point I was like, Cadillac for the win? Nope, didn't happen.
Nope.
So that's one of the things. Now the other thing that was really interesting was a lot of drivers came off and said that this year being about 20 additional cars in the field, that they had massive problems getting around people, and quite a few drivers came back and said that people are doing dumb stuff, which you could kind of see that happening quite a bit with the disparity between cars.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I saw multiple articles, and some of the classes were, I think, what were they talking about? They were saying LMP3 was kind of getting in the way.
Yep, LMP3 for the most part.
And I mean, for one thing, right? I mean, some of these teams. One thing you got to know too, right? When you look at the race, if you haven't been following something like this before, is there are something what they call gentleman drivers, and it doesn't mean they're all have to be men or nothing, but they're don't let me go there. But the point is that they're not professionals. They don't do this for a living. They are. Some people call them rent-a-seats.
They pay money.
Right? They pay, and
in that car to get in that seat.
They get a ride on a team that they wouldn't normally because they're able to do so. And naturally, those people doesn't mean that they're poor drivers. They still have to qualify and be decent drivers, decent behind the wheel, but they're not professionals. They don't do this. That's not what they do.
Right.
And so inherently, what that means is obviously they have usually just less base skill, but also less experience on a race like this too, because that's not what they do all the time.
True.
And so you put them in a car that's not slow, but also not fast. Then okay, they're going to be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way it is, right?
Well,
they
somebody
do some stuff. So
I think one of the contenders actually had a tie up with which car was it? I remember at some point there was another caution because they got caught up. And they actually got sent to the back because they came up on another car. Oh, it was coming into the turn into the infield. Remember? Oh, it was.
What is it?
Oh God, which car was it?
What are you talking
about? Remember we were sitting there, we're like, oh, somebody just got in the back of the other car and just didn't even slow down, and then they penalized the other driver because both got damaged. I forget which cars were involved.
Yeah, I don't recall.
It was later on. It was just before probably 10:30 at night or something like that, maybe 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So that happened. Some of the other surprising results there was Corvette did finish 1-2 again in their class, which they couldn't do this. They didn't pull this off the year before. But then again, at GTLM didn't have the 911 really participating from the factory perspective in the Porsche stable.
Yep, followed by the Beamer.
The Beamer was probably the biggest surprise in that respect because that was their highest finish in a number of years. So that looks to be probably a more competitive team in the not too distant future. So this is more going to be stuff to follow for the regular watchers of the season. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, though, there was some setbacks for teams that even won. If you want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, the driver stuff.
Well, yeah, the driver stuff, sure.
Is that what you want to talk about? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, this we have this link to below. I'm pretty sure it's down there. It's from Auto Week.
Yep.
Basically, the here was that Antonio Garcia notified of positive COVID test during the result. The one you have up.
Yep. I had it up until you lost your link again.
Well, this computer sometimes, Chad.
I think it's because your iPad's underneath the cable. I don't know. Oh, no, it's gone again. Forget it. Just talk.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, there you go. It's the Auto Week link down below. But anyway, it says basically, the number 3 Corvette, the CR8, Antonio Garcia, Jordan Taylor, Nicky Katzberg, they were in that one. And basically it says Garcia was pulled from the competition in hour 17 of the 24-hour race. And the other guys had to finish the race basically because he had a positive
COVID test.
Just for COVID. And actually, he's one of 3. There were 3 drivers that ended up running into this problem throughout the course of the race. And I know the other one was, well, there's 3, of course, and they all, again, were not allowed to continue. I think, which is good. But to say that, it's almost not something that anyone can get affected by. Yeah, totally not. I mean, even the drivers having issues with it. So it's still around, obviously.
True.
Track. The good thing about some of these teams, obviously, is that they had enough drivers and enough their sleep schedule and all the fatigue that they could still deal with it. Right. So because again, it's a 24-hour race, and you got to keep going. Somebody's got to sit in the seat, and if somebody, if you're thinking maybe this other guy's gonna take the next stint, you can maybe sleep for a while, and then you get woken up. Hey, Mike, you got to get up.
Nope.
Bob, he got the COVID. You're in the car next, and you're like, shit, I just got out of the car like 3 hours ago.
I want to know
something. So it's just, but it is what it is.
I want to know how they pulled somebody into the pits and what they do. He got out and they were like swab him, and that was it.
I'm sure there's protocol for that.
I would imagine. At 1 hour.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how it works. On their end, how actually that came about. But yeah, it is what
it is interesting. Okay, so let's question: which do you think was the best sounding, and which do you think was the best looking car?
Well, I mean, if you talk about DPI and any of those other kind of cars that are purpose-built race cars, they look different anyway, right?
Sure.
So they have their own appeal because they're, center cockpit, the car, the driver sits in the middle, and it's really purpose-built, and that has an appeal to me because it's a purpose-built race car.
Sure.
But I still like the way the Corvettes look as a car.
Okay, so wait a second.
Right?
So
because they're obviously different classes. That's.
So which one is your best looking car? That being explained, which one is your best looking car?
I still like the silver Corvette we saw in the infield.
Okay, wait.
C8. There was a C8. You have a picture of it. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, the C8. Yeah. We have videos of that one. Yeah.
Next to the blue.
So that's your favorite looking.
Probably.
Okay, yeah, I have to agree. I do agree that that's probably the best looking car.
It's just a nice looking car. I mean, obviously a DPI, like I said, race car, sure, but you're not going to see that on the street because you wouldn't.
So now, what about best sounding though? Come on.
Depends what you. I still like the Corvette. They don't quite sound the same.
They don't sound the same.
There, that's the one.
I know this is the one. I'm queuing it up for a reason.
Well, you then. What's yours?
The Cadillac.
Which one?
Cadillac. All the Cadillacs.
The
Cadillacs. The Cadillac DPIs all have a. So 6 or 7 years ago, all the cars had very different sounds to them, and actually some of them winded up a little bit more, had a little bit more of a shriek to them almost, or they had this thunderous roar, which was the Cadillacs and the Corvettes, and the Corvettes seem to have kept that. This year, I think the Cadillacs kept that, but I think this year the Corvettes were actually louder than they were the year before. Okay. They did sound a little bit louder, and they certainly were the cars that were doing the most crackling when they went into the entry points of turns off throttle. So that's something else that I would say. But this is the car that Corey's talking about. This is an up close and personal with the actual Corvette. Beautiful car.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's at obviously the Corvette Pavilion. Just to the left, what you can't see is a C8 street car.
Yeah.
That really nice blue. But this car, this is what he was asking me about. Just car.
It's good looking. So you're talking about the blue one. Do you like the blue one or the gray one better?
I like that one better.
That one better. Okay, right? Yeah.
But as far as just a street car,
sure.
Blue one has a cool.
I would think that on the track, and it's interesting because I remember 2 years ago, it had to have been 4 years ago now. Was it 4 years ago when the Ford GTs made a return? Because I think they were at that time probably. Huh?
They had that funny blue color.
They had that funny blue color, but I think that was one of the better looking cars that we'd seen on the track in a long time until the Corvettes showed up. The Corvettes, I think, were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yep. So
like it.
So now we
like it.
You like it a lot. So now we have work to do because now we're supposed to, within the next day or two, we have to get some other content up for the channel, which is going to be some of the edited video from this, and we have piles and piles.
We got a lot to do.
A lot of video to go through, so that's going to be something that's
exciting.
interesting.
That's why
which is really exciting, of course. So look forward to that, because the channel, we will hopefully this week, we want to get it out this week because it's important to get the remainder of our video edits up. So I'm also going to be dumping some raw footage up there for people to enjoy from the Rolex.
Like just kind of like action clips.
Yeah, action clips of stuff that was out there.
Yeah, it would be cool.
But then we have a lot of other videos that are just, and I'm sure you guys aren't super interested in this stuff, but I'm just going to show you a quick clip just so you understand what we have to pull,
some ambience.
To establish a lot of these scenes and do some of this work. It's important that we got different styles of clips from all over the racetrack, and this is just stuff that we have. It's just going to be random pictures of things that we're going to use to set the scene for the Rolex. This is a section from the infield, just so you guys can get a really good feel for what it was actually like to be there. And when we finally put all this together, I hope it's going to be enough to tell a great story, because I've never told a story like this before on any piece of content in a long time, well, at least not in a long time. So it's going to take me a little while to get my head wrapped around it, and we're going to try to do it in something. We're going to try to do it in Final Cut Pro 2, but we're actually Final Cut Pro, but we're not. We're actually going to do it in iMovie, and we're doing that as a challenge to see if we could take the footage that we got over this time and make it quality with some basic video editing tools. So that's going to be another part of the thing that we're working on. So we're going to bring that to you as soon as we can. Again, we have 3.5 hours of video footage that we have to go through that we took ourselves. So
I think I got more to dump off of it. Not much.
Do you have more?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's not a whole lot on the phone. I took most of the GH5.
So I want to say that right now I dumped almost 70 gigabytes off of the GH5, and I think I dumped over 60 gigabytes, or maybe 58 gigabytes off the ZV-1.
Okay.
So we do have quite a bit of footage, and the other part of it is some of these shots are only seconds long, and we're gonna have to literally pick the best ones out of all these.
Yeah, we're hopefully do different things with. I mean, some might be transitions, some might be. Yeah, I don't know. We got some stuff to do.
Some work. So with that said, hey guys, look, we got to get to work. We got a ton of stuff to do. We appreciate you. Get to work. We appreciate you tuning in. And when you get the opportunity, like, subscribe, and follow, because if you hit that little bell, we're going to be doing some more interesting things. We might go to Sebring. That might be our next thing. We're going to talk about that. But we've got some other video things that we've got planned for production videos. And then come Wednesday, we'll be back to our regular format, discussing all sorts of different things, because I believe Boston Dynamics has got some interesting...
Yes, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. They've got a live stream event going on, I believe, at 11 o'clock.
We're going to be... Eastern time, yeah.
Eastern time, right?
Yep.
And that's going to be part of their new lineup, I guess, for some of the accessories for Spot.
Yeah, the dog.
Which would be really cool. So we're going to be covering some of that, and we got some other stuff to talk about, especially GameStop has been still taking its massive ride. I believe it dropped 20% this morning, but I last time I looked, I think it was back up on the rise again. So that's some...
I saw that Reddit was... That Reddit, I think at that subreddit, they're after silver commodities now, or silver?
Yes, silver. They're
trying other things.
They're trying other things, and Elon Musk, though... Oh, wait. I gotta say this, because...
I don't have that. Go ahead.
I have it. So... If you guys don't follow Elon Musk on Twitter, and I don't like to spend a ton of time on Twitter, because I just think sometimes it's just not as much fun as real life. But if there's one guy that you're going to follow on Twitter, okay, you have to follow Elon Musk, because he had this amazing tweet the other day, and I thought it was so poignant. And this is fantastic. Turns around and he says, you can't sell a house that you don't own. You can't sell cars you don't own, but you can sell stock you don't own. This is BS. Shorting is a scam. Legal only for vestigial reasons. And I thought that was fantastic.
But even better for me too. I mean, that's
I know what your other one's going to be.
Literally the next tweet is, it can play Cyberpunk. And he's talking about the reworked Model S.
Yes.
So you just have to chuckle, because that's what Twitter's all about, right? Just short thoughts about whatever, and they can be about completely different, totally things.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pure just amusement.
Fantastic. And the other one was, here comes Shorty, the apologist, give him no respect, get Shorty. And that's, I'm talking about stock shorts again. So just funny, and I wanted to bring that up because it's fantastic, because that continues to be something we're going to be watching, because there's going to be 2 more launches hopefully this week from SpaceX, and that's going to be one of the next events we have to concentrate our energies on, which we're going to try to cover for you a live space launch from a perspective that you've never seen before. We're still working out we're working out the details because it's going to be a live stream event. It's not going to be a cut, copy, and paste of SpaceX's live stream themselves. No, we are literally going to be sitting across from a launch pad. It'll be off in the distance. We'll be a safe distance away, but we'll be trying to get the finalized stuff together to cover an actual live launch event. So you can see it from the perspective of not just what everybody gets on television, but you can actually see how the rocket departs the surface of the Earth, how it makes its trajectory arc, and what it looks like to be live. So that's going to be one of the things.
There is some more space news too. Yeah, they're supposedly NASA's going to retest the SLS rocket again, which you guys might have seen that we covered, and they had to shut it down early, so they're going to try to do that again. And of course, the Starship, SpaceX Starship, is still.
There's two of them side by side now.
Trying to do that test again still.
And we got to talk about the FAA and Starship because the FAA came back and said that they busted some rules there with SpaceX. So that's other stuff that we have to talk about as well. Not now, though. So probably look for us to talk about that on Wednesday and highlight some more of the details on that. But until then, what's space news? Yeah.
Cool.
Space and robot news. So, hey, again, like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate everybody's support. It's been fantastic so far. We really need your support. So next year, 1 year from today, 1 year minus a day, honestly, we can be at the Rolex and we can live stream, bringing you more information than we did from a phone without having to lug around all that equipment and make our lives easier. And that's a goal, long term. So, and we'll look forward to your support. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. All right. Well, with that said, if there's anything else you guys want us to cover, please leave it in the comments below, and we'll bring it up as a discussion point. And we're happy to have you guys aboard, and we'll see you real soon.
Yep. So as Mike said, thank you. Thanks for the support so far. Like, share, subscribe. You know how it works, guys. We appreciate all the support, and we look forward to bringing you more cool stuff about multiple subjects in the future. So
yeah,
see you then.
See you then, guys. Take care.